a scion of many worlds. Hail, Lord Blue. Why are you holding your arm in such a way? The happy crowds ask him as he walks through the capital of Miru. Zavaya is acting like a child until she allows herself to be seen. She will be carried like a sack of grain. Jasper answers the little heir Erumenta. You're carrying the former empress, someone asks. Yes, if she keeps acting like a child, I will treat her like one. He answers and gives a shrug, jostling the girl who lets out a scream and starts trying to beat on his back. She mostly gets cape and wing, but the few times she hits the armor, there's a ringing sound. Case in point, by the by, Magrica was last seen around here, wasn't she? I need to speak with her. That's the Metak, right? She was last seen in the Hanging Horn Tavern. Someone answers and Jasper nods and looks around to see the so-labeled building. Thank you, he says gently and flutters up a little to the protest of Zavaya, who still refuses to fade into visibility and then fluttering down in front of the tavern. Too good to walk? Someone shouts. I'm too big to go through a crowded street at times. Couple that with my foot claws and I want to be careful. He answers back before crouching down and tapping on the door with a knuckle. After a bit, it's opened by an Earth Erumenta who looks shocked to see him. Hello, I was wondering if Magrica was inside. I need to speak with her? You mean the drunken Metak? Yes, she's here. Drunken? Jasper asks, leaning in and noticing that Magrica is hanging from the rafters like a bat even as she guzzles something down. Hey, gorgeous, I got a plan that you're gonna love. They're monster hunting in it? Magrica asks after nearly snorting some of her drink. Yep. Also, I'm planning on getting the mountain clans in on it. So, a big family reunion, and I need you to not only introduce us proper, but tell me what a proper payment for their expertise is. What's the job? Hunt big monsters that can be eaten and give the bodies to the peoples of Greenstone and Miru to really give the famines a kick in the pants. Wait, you've been to Greenstone? Someone demands. Yeah, I've helped them pull themselves up out of savagery that spies from the Luxway were forcing them into. They would never, Zavaya shouts, and he gives her a little shake. If you want to be in on this conversation, then make yourself visible. Jasper chides her. No! This is demeaning. The former empress snaps in a fury. And you acting like a child, isn't? He demands her, and she does not respond. That's what I thought. You got the light brat with you? Yep, she won't sit down to listen to her tutors in Eridus, so instead she has the pleasure of joining me as I bounce from one end of the continent to the other. She refused to dress up even though I told her we were going north, so she's just going to have to suck up the cold. It's not that bad. Throw some furs on and you're done. She's refusing anything but silken dresses and slippers. Oh, this is gonna be good. You couldn't keep me out of this if you tried, you big dick. Was that an attempt at an insult or a request? Jasper volleys back and she snorts so hard she drops her mug. Oh, my booze. And yes it was. Magrica notes suddenly letting go of the rafters and flipping in mid-air to catch herself with ease and flapping over. She thunks into Jasper's head and holds on before tossing what he can sense are coins at the bartender. Sorry about this. Jasper apologizes, but between Magrica muffling him and the laughter of the bar, he can't be heard. He stands up next to the tavern and gently pulls Magrica off his face. She races down his arm and sits on his broad shoulder. You're having fun with this? Of course. Most of my drinks were free because every idiot thinks that they can win an arm wrestling contest with me. The coins were for the mess. I still have another 3 pints worth of wins in there. Lush, Zavaya mutters, and Magrica stands up, leans over Jasper's head and swats her on the rear. The cry of shock gets some laughter from the crowd and her form wavers into visibility for a moment and then fades back out of sight. Jasper just rolls his eyes as Magrica sits back down. What's it called again? I'm a little drunk, what's the saying? Magrika asks Jasper, who snorts in amusement. Talk shit. Get hit, Jasper answers. Anyways, I need your expert advice on what would be the best thing I could bring to the mountain clans to pay for their services. Do you prefer to forge your own weapons and just need materials? Perhaps some kind of exotic foods or wines? Finished weapons. Make a bunch of them like those swords of yours, like maybe 20 per encampment, and you'll have an army of monster hunters take to the air. Magrika answers simply. Those toys of yours are tough and brutal. It takes an Earth Araminta that... Wait, where the hell is she? I expected her to be bouncing around more. Terry Kada? Last I saw, she was gushing over the newest weapon designs she and the other girls made. She wants to make a full-on continental-scale artillery. I don't really understand that, but it sounds bad. It can be bad, but there's also the slight chance we might need a sucker punch like that, so it has my go-ahead, but they're not allowed to fire it without consulting me and the entire Starseeker Council first. When that thing hits something, it's going to leave a mark you can build a town in, and if that mark is where a town is, no more town. Well, that sobered me up. Girl likes to play with the big toys, doesn't she? Magrika asks. Yep, Jasper says, before nodding to the crowds and taking off with a squeal of protest from Zavaya. There's also the fact we might need it. I don't want to start a panic, but there are a lot of oddities that make me think there's someone playing around in the shadows. If they're still around, then we're in trouble. The artillery will let us hit pretty hard at least a couple of times should the worst come to pass. You sense danger? I've been looking into the history of Lacron. There are pieces missing. A great number of pieces missing. However, what pieces are missing tell a pretty scary story. There were two peoples that were here initially. The one that was here first had massive weapons but were hidden. They never announced themselves. Then your ancestors came and they surprised each other. Yet, your ancestors did not have the weapons needed to fight back. So something else did. And you think this other group or whatever might still be around? They would be thousands of years old, Magrika asks as she hops off his shoulder and starts flying just below him. He adjusts his grip on Zavaya, who naturally protests, but he ignores it and they start to fly a little faster. That's not an issue in the galaxy at large. Not only are there several races that can live that long naturally, but the methods have been studied so anyone of any race can live for millennia. Something hit what was on this planet hard and then left your ancestors here to rot. Whatever influenced events that day, it was not friendly, and the only thing we know about it is that it's maybe the only party without any trace of it. I found where the defenses on this world were and a few pieces of tech from the Nest, the ship that brought your bloodlines here, but not from this third party. Or if I have, it's easily mistaken for one of the other two. So your big bad revelation is that it took a lot of work and a nasty surprise to end the Age of Miracles. I could have told you that without spending days going around and figuring things out. Magrika mocks him as they descend next to the portal to Aridus. It cuts out a major part of their trip. Can you put me down now? Zavaya demands. I could have sworn someone said something, but I don't see anyone who could have said it, Jasper replies. You know exactly where I am. I'm not hidden to you, Zavaya shouts at him. You there, get this lunatic to put me down. I told you that you would be carried until you were visible. You are not visible, so you will be carried, Jasper remarks as he and Magrika walk a few steps through the military camp. Many of the girls openly snigger at the plight of the invisible former empress. Now, this is your last chance to put on something actually warm. I'm going to be making the payment for services. We're leaving in a few hours. She lets out a huff and he rolls his eyes at this stupidity. Then Magrika speaks up. So the weapons aren't already made? I wasn't sure if bringing them completed weapons would be an insult. I keep running into odd peoples and have no idea what might set someone off these days. So it will take me a short while to put the weapons together, Jasper admits. Also, if you try and run while I'm making things, you're getting a spanking, Zavaya. Thankfully for her own sake, she's in more a sulking and seething bit of attitude than running away and hiding. Apparently, the refusing to be physically visible is hiding enough for her. He counts that as a blessing. Carrying the sheer amount of weapons and Zavaya is going to be a huge hassle, especially if she gets squirmy. Zavaya, he says to get her attention as the metal shifts and molds under his claws. What? She asks after heaving a sigh. I am not your enemy, nor am I unreasonable. Get yourself some warm clothing. We are going north. Not my enemy. You stole my crown and destroyed my throne, she snaps. And why does an uncomfortable hat or an old chair have any value to you? I wasn't done. You then humiliated me in front of my own people and made me a prisoner in my own home. You've taken everything from me. Why should you care about the opinions of complete strangers? Furthermore, from what I understand, you have been to more places and seen more new things since I have taken control of your life. My life in a cage. You were always in a cage, child. I just revealed the bars. Jasper replies. I was not in a cage as empress. I ruled over all of Miru. I was the unquestioned ruler of all. And what did you do with it? He asks her, and he can clearly sense her outline, so he knows that he just shocked her hard enough to turn and stare at him. It's a simple question, with all that power, all that ability and authority. What did you do? How grand was your life when you were empress? I ensured the peace and prosperity of my people. I led by example and showed the best path to the future. Your country was only at peace due to the threats from the grand midwives to end all lineages if anyone started something stupid. I'm currently working to break a growing famine and undo the incredible amount of damage that the Luxway did to the trust of the people. Jasper counters. You're lying. You're just making things up to look better. Declaring some terrible disaster to exist, then shifting around things that aren't yours to then claim that you've solved them. You're a monster. She rants at him and he grins. You at least think through some things. Let me try another question so you can see what I'm trying to get at. Just tell me already. She huffs, already tired of his cryptic nonsense. If I tell you, you'll just say I'm lying. If I want you to understand, I have to show you how I came to the conclusions I have come to. Jasper explains as he finishes the last sword in his first bundle. Anyways, when you had an idea that wasn't first brought to you by your attendants or counselors, how easy was it to get them to go through? Trivial. I would scarcely finish speaking and my servants would rush to make it happen. She answers with a sniff, fading into view with her nose in the air and a smug look on her face. And when it was this sort of scenario, how often did they succeed? Or did some incompetent always unfortunately mess things up? He asks, knowing the answer. He had spoken to a lot of people in the initial flurry of taking over. I fail to see what the incompetence of lesser elements has to do with me somehow being in a cage. There is saying among my people, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is enemy action, Jasper says, emphasizing his words. It's not always accurate, but it's a good measure of when you should start getting suspicious. Pure nonsense, Zavaya counters, but her nose isn't quite as high. Drowning in pride or not, the girl does have a functioning brain and he just planted a fairly heavy seed of doubt.